What's good, y'all? It's me, Chris. Welcome back to another video. And in today's video, we're going to be discussing WandaVision episode 5. I am gagged, y'all. I made a video 2 weeks ago discussing the television that I had watched that week. And in that video, I discussed the first 2 episodes of WandaVision, and I said that I wasn't going to be reviewing this season, maybe at the end. But so much happened this episode that I just had to cut on my camera and discuss with y'all. Before we get into it, y'all know this is going to be spoilers. So if you haven't watched up into episode 5, I don't even know why you clicked on this video. But I'm just letting y'all know, spoilers, spoilers, spoilers. We will be discussing what went down in episode 5 and maybe even bring back some of the previous episodes in this conversation. Y'all know that we've been dealing with this MCU sitcom mystery that we've been given from Marvel Disney Plus, and this shit been real slow, y'all. This season has been real slow. Like, it's gotten me to even the point where I have thought about watching spoilers, looking online to see like what's to come, just because I'm just like, the pacing of the show. But finally this episode, even a little bit of last week, but we're finally getting that like MCU content. The reveals are starting to pay off. Like, the storytelling is starting to pay off. We're starting to get some reward for the, I don't know, about 2 hours we've consumed now of watching Marvel. So I am very happy that this series is finally starting to pick up, and we're starting to get some more reveals and some more answers to our inquiries about this fucking mystery that's taken down in the MCU. So we're going to go over this episode kind of like my Insecure review, just in chronological order. I'll talk about the storytelling, the acting, and also just about the characters kind of all combined into one. It's like a review recap, if you will. Y'all already know I love MCU, so there's really nothing I have to say as far as like them overall, but we'll get into it about the episode. So the sitcom theme this week is Family Ties, and I'm not too familiar with this sitcom. I think I may have seen it once or twice in passing, but not enough to reference it. My favorite like late 80s, early 90s white sitcom is Step by Step. That is my shit. Step by step, day by day. You know, they got the theme song, and at the end they end with a roller coaster. That's my shit. A lot of the girls are into Full House. I never could get into Full House. So if that would, and I think they're actually doing a Full House episode during this WandaVision series. So I think we'll see that. All y'all girls will get y'all flowers for that series. But it was really cute getting into this sitcom. I like how the little CGI details that Marvel does in this episode, like the little gag with the binkies, you can see when Wanda pulls him out of his ear, like it's digital. There's also when Agnes walks into the scene, Vision transforms back into his like human form. Like, very little details that you're just like, oh, thank goodness, this to, you know, remind you that this is still like a Marvel property. I really love that. The babies in this scene, this first scene is to kind of show that the babies can't be controlled by Wanda. She's trying to put them to sleep, and Wanda's powers aren't able to have an impact on them. So that's definitely a little light bulb, something for you to note while you're trying to figure everything out that's going on in this universe. Then we get the kids just suddenly time jumping to 5 years old. I need to know who's controlling that. Is that something that to me, it doesn't seem like Wanda and Vision has any control over their children aging. So I'm just really surprised. I'm happy to see it because, you know, the streets are talking that the Young Avengers are coming. You can see them in a lot of the if you're in tune with like the casting of these series, a lot of the Disney Plus series have already kind of casted Disney Young Avengers. So I'm happy that they are aging up quickly so we can get them going in action into this universe. But I'm still just kind of confused who is allowing them to age so quickly. So then the Family Ties introduction rolls, and it's a not cute little MCU spin on it. I laughed so much when they got to Vision and showed childhood photos as Vision, because he's never been a child before. I thought it was really freaking funny. I laughed so much. I liked the gag. It was also interesting because in the Age of Ultron, the Avengers 2, they said he was just born. So I was like, are they going to actually give baby photos? But it was cute. They definitely went into the theme. I'm glad that as soon as the intro was done, we went to outside of the hex, outside of what Wanda was controlling, because I was like, I cannot suffered through another sitcom episode. So it was great that this episode we got a nice blend of what was going inside where Wanda and some other external forces controlling and what's going on with the sword. So after the Family Ties intro, we're back into the sword facility and Monica is getting her health and her stats checked on, making sure that she's okay. Followed by that, there's a debriefing with Hayward amongst everyone else who is on this case, and it's revealed that just a few days ago Wanda had broken into a secure facility and taken Vision's body, and that was the first bomb drop. My mouth was gagged. I was like, we've been sitting on this information for this long and we're just now deciding to share it? How is this classified information? We should have led with this information. I'm so confused. So Hayward is sitting here going over Wanda's history and really trying to paint her as a terrorist. And you know, white men, they always trying to simplify shit so much. That's why we're in the problems that we are now and in these prison bodies that is gender and race and every single fucking thing, because white men, they always try to simplify shit. Leave it up to the people of color. Agent Woo and Monica are trying to like humanize her and empathize and make her seem more complex than the terrorist that he's painting her to be. So Wanda walks into the kitchen and she sees that her children has a stray dog and she's so confused as to where it came from. But of course, Agnes, here she comes, perfect timing with the doghouse. Always with like the right equipment needed to assist Wanda and Vision. And then Vision comes in and it's like, what's going on here? There's a dog, there's chaos. And Wanda's like, you know, we have a new member of the family. And she creates a collar for the dog and right in front of Agnes. And Wanda, Vision freaks out of like, hey, we had agreed to, you know, to not display our powers. And Wanda's like, well, I'm tired of hiding and maybe you shouldn't either. And Vision is just questioning as he's been doing the previous episodes, but it's more prevalent in this one's, and he's just like, what are you not telling me? And so the children, you have to hold on to that because it's interesting to see Vision come into his own conscious and realize what exactly is going around in his surroundings this episode. So the children beg for the dog and parents agree that you'll get the dog when you turn 10 years old. And so Wanda and Vision are like, oh no, no. And the children age up to 10 years old again. And I'm like, what? How is this possible? What is going on? I still don't know how these children are able to age themselves up like this. Like, there's just, to me, seeming so much going on outside of this. Because even Wanda's like, what? So we move back to the Swartz facility and Monica, Darcy, and Agent Woo are trying to piece everything together. Monica says that she knows an aerospace engineer that could be able to get into the spot without being detected. And I'm wondering like who that is. It can't be Iron Man, maybe Ant-Man. I'm just wondering like who she knows, who may actually come up, if that's even an Easter egg or something for us to pay attention to for later on. They're discussing the twins and how they appeared and how they've grown so fast, and they're discussing Wanda's powers and maybe she's able to manipulate this and to change the perception for us to see this, and they're discussing how much power Wanda could have in this to be manipulating and shifting everything. And I'm like, whoa, wow, that is just that's like a lot to conceptualize how much power that would take to be able to conduct a whole universe. Is very like interesting to think of. And so they're, you know, contemplating that thought and like, well, yeah, she almost took out Thanos, period. If Thanos wasn't a little bitch and didn't rain on his like backup, Scarlet Witch would have taken out Thanos easily. So they say, well, you know, she did almost take out Thanos. And Agent Woo says, well, so did Captain Marvel. And Monica Rambeau shuts that conversation down real quick. She says, don't know her. Moving on to the next. I thought it was pretty funny. Like, I can't wait to hear like what that story is and what that relationship has been since we last seen them in Captain Marvel, the movie. So then we go to Vision's job and he's there with his coworker Norm, and they're, you know, testing out the internet. I guess the internet is new in this decade, and they get an email and Norm's like, you know, I got my paper opener, and Vision's like, it's the internet. We already have it accessible. It's already accessible for it to be open. So they play the email and it looks like Darcy or Monica just making note, but it's sent through an email. So I'm not sure if they're communicating to him. It was the same way when Agent Woo was talking to Wanda from the radio. I'm not 100% sure, but either way, that plants a seed and Vision for him to question his surrounding even more. And he turns to Norm and just feels like something is so off, so he uses his power and snaps Norm out of the spell, and he freaks out. He panics. He said, "She's in my head. Where's my sister? I need to talk to my father. He's in the hospital." Like, just in a panic. And Vision is just so taken aback, and he has to put him back into the spell. And Vision is so fucked up from this. So was I was like, this is eerie. Like, this is some Get Out shit. Like, I couldn't imagine being conscious enough of your own body, but not being enough where you're literally being controlled by someone. Like, how fucking scary. I thought it was so well done. And when Norm was saying that she's in my head, I kept thinking, is that Wanda, or is he talking about Agnes? Because like I said, we still don't know 100% what's going on with Agnes. So I'm interested to see when he says she's in my head, who is she? So then we're back at home, and Wanda has the kids, and she's explaining to them why Vision is out at work and how they just, you know, need some time apart. Just explaining family dynamics and things of that nature, and understanding that your family will always be your family. And one of her children asks us, "Well, do you have a brother?" And she says, "Yeah, he's far away," and it makes me really sad. And I'm like, wow, finally, if I'm not mistaken, this is the first time that we're hearing Wanda acknowledge the loss of her brother. I always think it's so weird that while I do love their chemistry on the show, I think it's interesting that we're just now hearing about her brother like 6 years after his death, and she's been so enamored with Vision. So Sparky starts barking. He's upset. I guess something is at the door, and Wanda decides to go check outside and sees that a drone, it's outside, and Monica is in control and voicing it and just letting Wanda know that she wants to talk and that the talking is not working. And so Hayward decides to fire, and Monica's like, what? This shouldn't even be armed. So it's fired, and they're observing her on the TV screen as they do to look into this universe, and it just cuts blank static on the television screen. So everyone from inside the Sword facility rushes to the Hex. There's an anticipation from everyone that an object or something is coming, and lo and behold, it is Wanda walking through that force field with the drone that was pointed at her. And when I tell you, I was shook when I saw her. Like, wow, what an introduction back into this universe. Like, so cinematic. She looked stunning. It was great to see her in her attire that we're so familiar with from the Avengers movies. Like, wow, it was such a great moment. I was sitting there so scared for them. I'm like, y'all a little unmatched and underpowered right now. Are y'all okay? But it was so good. The way that they had their guns pointed at her, it was giving me very much X-Men, like, talk about a moment. Monica tries to reason with her. She's letting her know that I have empathy for you, that I am here to help you. Like, Monica asks her, what do you want? And Wanda says, I have what I want, and no one else is ever going to take it away from me. And she points the guns at Hayward as a distraction to walk back into the force field. And you can just hear Monica saying, Wanda! Wanda is not having it. Talk about the stakes being raised in this television show, y'all. This interaction was giving me every single thing that I needed. The Legos commercial was hella petty. The paper towel commercial, the tagline being for when you make a mess when you didn't mean to. They was referring to Wanda in the beginning of Captain America Civil War, in which she accidentally creates that explosion in the building. That shit was so funny. I was like, y'all petty for this commercial. So we're back into the Hex, and Wanda and her children Billy and Tommy are looking for their dog Sparky. He has come up missing, and you see that Agnes has found the dog, and she wraps it up and lets them know that she found the dog dead. And you know, Wanda had some really good, really poignant conversation about life and death, and was discussing that with her children. And I'm still just unsure with Agnes's position. I'm like, are you afraid of Wanda? Are you in fear of what the outside sources of Sword is? Like, I feel like there's some type of like pressure that Agnes is starting to put and are trying to attempt to for Wanda to have some type of realization. I'm not sure. There's so many ways in which Agnes can be pulled and how she is contributing to this universe that I'm still not sure. Every single time she comes on screen, I have a question mark. But Vision comes in and he consults his children and lets you know they're okay. They have the closing typical scene at the end of the sitcom. So Vision and Wanda are cleaning up the kitchen after a long day, and Vision mentions to Wanda that he spoke to Norm. And I'm surprised like how conscious Vision is outside of what Wanda has created. Like, in even bringing him back, like, did you bring back him to have control over his own thoughts? Like, for some reason I thought he was hypnotized, brainwashed into this universe as well, but I'm learning that throughout this episode and throughout these previous episodes that he has his own conscience and he's learning outside of the things that Wanda has created as a spell around him. Is very interesting. So Wanda tries to end the conversation by running the credits, and Vision is fed up and sick of Wanda's bullshit. So Vision, exits out through the kitchen and into the living room and yells at Wanda because she's like, Norm needs his family. You have this man trapped. And Wanda's like, what? And Vision's like, stop lying to me. And they both ascend halfway to the ceiling. Ooh, that shit was so cinematic. I'm like, ooh, are we gonna get a battle? But no, it's just like a married couple, having an argument. Like, Vision is really having a identity crisis. Like, he is sensing that everything is not okay and it's upsetting him, and he can realize that Wanda may have some type of answer to this, but Wanda is saying like, it's not possible that I'm able to do all this. Like, and I don't even know how this started. So I'm thinking like, damn, this is another hint, another clue that like there's some external force outside of Wanda that's controlling this. That maybe in the last episode, Monica said like it's all Wanda, but I'm starting to see that there's some other force, because even Wanda herself is like, I can't get everyone to their dental appointments on time. Like, I'm not capable of doing that. So the doorbell rings and Wanda goes to answer it and she doesn't recognize who it is. And Vision asks, who is this person? Do you know who they are? And then it just cuts and we see Quicksilver, Evan Peters from the Fox movies, cast as Pietro. It's Quicksilver. And so Pietro says, you're not going to give your long-lost brother a hug? And Darcy's watching from the Swords facility. She says, did she recast Pietro? She says like literally what we were all thinking. It was a really funny ass line, like perfect comedic timing. I really do like Kat Dennings in this series. I hope they get to bring her in more prominent roles throughout the MCU, because she's really good in this series. So to me, I don't think that Wanda thinks that this is Pietro. She still looks confused when she says Pietro, and he leans in for like a hug, but Wanda's like, this is not the person that I imagined. So I'm like, I know I've watched a few reviews, and to my knowledge and my understanding, I think that this is a misdirect. I don't think that this is the same Quicksilver that we're familiar with from the Fox X-Men movies. I do think that this is genius casting and genius storytelling. Whoever thought to bring this version of Quicksilver in and have them play like an illusion of Quicksilver, it's great. But I don't think that this is. There's just something in his demeanor, and there's something in the question mark that Vision and Wanda have at the end of this episode that leads me on to think that this is a character that we are totally not familiar with. But either way, the episode was amazing. I was gagged the whole entire time. I'm like, finally, they make it worth me staying up till midnight for me to watch the episode, which I guess is not that bad because people on the East Coast gotta stay up till 3 a.m. to watch this. It was a really good episode. I enjoyed it so much. I would love to hear what y'all have to think about this. Please leave your comments down below. Like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the Crispy Noah family, and I will see y'all in my next video. Bye.